What's happening, good people? Tony Harris, CNN anchor. I anchor the 9 a.m. until noon edition of CNN Newsroom, Monday through Friday, right here on CNN. Check your cable listings. Oh, that's interesting. I've been doing this for almost, boy, Monty, almost 30 years now. I think next year will probably be 30 years, and it's funny. It feels like I just started yesterday in many respects. I think what drew me to it anyway, it kind of goes back to, I guess, my early teens, 13, 14 years old. It was just a determination just from watching television that I felt I could do that. In the early days, it was really entertainment driven. I was one of the kids who grew up on Johnny Carson, and I just loved him and watched his show when I should have been sleeping and getting ready for the next day in school. And just realizing from watching him that I wanted to be a performer some way or somehow. I wanted to find my way into this business. The journalism piece really came to me, I suppose, once I moved to Cleveland, Ohio. Probably my first job in television. I went there as a kind of an entertainment anchor. And then I wanted more time on television, so I went to my general manager and said, look, I've been watching the newscast and spending more time in the newsroom. I think I can do this. I knew I wanted to be on television. I knew I wanted to be in radio, and I knew that if I could get the journalism piece, that it would be beneficial to me down the road. And boy, was I right about that. I don't know that I've been right about a lot of things, but I was certainly right about that. I just think it's as competitive as you think it is. It's 10 times as competitive. You really have to be sharp. You know, you've got to read. You've got to know. You've got to be informed. It's not necessarily bringing a perspective, but have a perspective. You don't have to bring it to the newsroom every day, but you do have to reflect, you know, your life and what you've grown up in. So I think that's it. It's the key. The key is to sort of be prepared. Always be prepared. Read it, know it, and then, if this is what you choose to do, you have to be absolutely relentless. I know that since my earliest days, there has been this ongoing conversation about how we can better impact the events and our images. Let's stay there with the projections of our images on television and in print and everything else. And I think one of the things I'm proudest about working here at CNN is this company's real initiative to multiculturalism, to diversity. I think there is an opportunity now with folks like me and some of the folks, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, who are part of not only the on-air team, but also the editorial team. I think that there is a better acceptance. Folks are willing to listen more than at any time that I can remember to the views of a more diverse population. I mean, if you look around CNN, you've been walking through here. This is becoming an amazing story for this network, founded, based in the South. See, it's an amazing story of where perhaps we've been and where we are now. And I think that's, when I talk about sort of being black in America these days, from my point of view, it is the opportunity to kind of influence the editorial process. I don't win them all, but I try. And more often than not, that input is really beneficial for everyone in the newsroom. So I think we've probably got a long way to go. It's almost cliche to say that. I suppose that's true. Intuitively, you kind of feel that it's true. But I think there are great strides being made, and I look forward to where this company is even 3 years from now. I won't go as far as 5 years, 10 years. I'm really encouraged about where this company is headed. Now we're at a place where news is happening all the time, and with all of the sort of technological advances now, folks are sending us video from their cell phones. I mean, that's where we are right now. We've started this user-generated area of our operation called MyUrbanReport, and that's been enormously successful. It seems to work best at times of big storms, really big events. That's when it really pays off for us. But that's user-generated material, and we use it all the time. We get great effect out of it, great advantage out of it. And that's where we're going now. It is anybody literally can capture news and get it to us. And in this 24/7 news cycle that we're on in cable news, I mean, it's invaluable. It's absolutely invaluable to us. There's only one story for me. I mean, that's Gina 6. And I got to tell you, I kid about it, but it's my Anderson Cooper moment. I mean, Anderson sort of really landed on the map for a lot of folks with his coverage of Katrina, and all credit to him for the work he did there and the way he still works to follow up on that story, keeping folks honest. For me, it was covering and being in Gina, Louisiana for that remarkable day of coverage by this network again making this commitment to cover that story once it was clearly on our radar, and it had been on at a couple of different times on our radar. But once it was clear that this event was about to happen in Gina, and there was the opportunity to kind of own it as a network, and to do a really solid journalistic job on it, trying to represent all points of view on that story. And I think if you watch our coverage, I think we were terrific at doing that, knock on wood. I think that's the story for me. And the fact, well, I think what we did is we identified a story that seemed on its face to represent some level of injustice. It certainly required more questions. And we didn't feel like necessarily we were getting great answers. Why was this kid, Michael Bell, and why were all of these kids being charged essentially to the full extent of the law for what on the surface appeared to be a school fight, fights that happened in schools all over the country every day? We didn't necessarily feel like we were getting what felt like a full and complete answer to that. You know, dive a little deeper into the story and you understand the nooses and the kids, you know, hanging the nooses from the tree and all of the other elements involved in the story. I won't go into all of that. You guys probably know this story, but once you sort of dig deeper and understand from whence all of this came, I think it just became compelling, provocative television. Something that I think, at least I hear from the comments, that once folks tuned in, they couldn't turn away from.